Talk some boxing, man. We'll talk some boxing. All right. I gotta go out and get some stuff to eat, but real quick, Devin, ain't you better work on your inside game because because Jojo Diaz is gonna cut a rug on you. he gonna he gonna beat you up real bad, boy. He gonna cut you all kind of thing. Jojo is no joke. Let me say that again. Jojo Diaz is no joke. Devin Haney asked him, what fighter have you faced that's like me? And Jojo didn't answer him, right? Here's the truth. And I'm gonna just say it as it is. Jojo has faced Gary Russell Jr. and he's also faced Tevin Farmer. So if you really think you that special, Devin Haney, I'm not saying you're not a great fighter. Just know he faced them two guys. He gave Gary Russell Jr. a run for his money, and he beat Tevin Farmer. And this is moving up in weight. So if y'all don't understand who Jojo Diaz is, and Devin Haney don't have no respect for Jojo Diaz, don't be overlooking Jojo Diaz. That boy will work you. He will, like he said, he will F you up. Okay? He will F you up. I'm glad Devin Haney took this fight. This is a tough fight. Devin Haney has not faced anybody on the pro level like a Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz, on the other hand, has had prep for Devin Haney. He has faced Tevin Farmer, and he has faced Gary Russell Jr. Okay? So he has experience prepping for a guy like Devin Haney, a slick, skilled, fast, sharp fighter. He has faced two. Black. Okay? So there ain't nobody that Jojo Diaz, there's no situation Devin Haney could present to Jojo Diaz hasn't seen before. Like I said before, Jojo Diaz is a sleeper. And if them top guys slip up one bit, Jojo will beat their ass. All right? I'm telling you, man. Jojo, your only thing is endurance, your cardio. Coming down to the later rounds, you can't be slipping up on your cardio. Devin Haney will take advantage of that situation. Work on your cardio, swimming, whatever it takes. Get down to the weight class that you're supposed to be at and work your cardio. You got mad skills. Jojo got mad skills. The only thing, I'm very confident about Jojo. There's just two things that going against Jojo. One is that he lost before. Devin Haney's never lost. So he's going to push like that. And the other thing with Jojo that works against him is his conditioning. You got to make sure your conditioning is on point, boy. You can't be looking big and fat and slovely like you are in that face-off. You got to get yourself in order, bro. Take that weight off. Those are the only two things. And make sure you get VADA tested and everything. And do your thing, brother. Do your thing. And don't be taking so many punches, man. Not like your most recent fight. You took too many punches, man. No, not that one. The one before that. Okay? But he cleaned up his game. In the one against Fortuna, he did very, very well. All right, peoples. That's that. Let's talk Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez real quick. My boy Caleb looking good. He looking sharp. He looking clean. Canelo Alvarez looking good. He looking sharp. He looking clean. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Plant be talking to him, letting him know he coming for him. Canelo was all mad and everything. But as you can see, Caleb Plant is the bigger guy. You see how slender he is. That's because he has to cut weight and stay on weight. Caleb Plant goes up to 175. He'll fill out even more. And he'll look even more filled out. But as it is, he has to stay bone dry. This dude's a big dude. And what a lot of people don't understand is Caleb Plant actually is a 175 pounder. So some of his power will come back to him at 175. But he hits plenty hard. He hits plenty hard to get Canelo's attention. That will not be a problem. And like I said before, Caleb Plant will be right in front of Canelo. And Canelo will try and throw certain punches and he's going to miss. Caleb Plant going to do what he do. Because Caleb Plant's a real counterpuncher. Canelo hasn't faced a counterpuncher in a long time. The closest he came to that was Billy Joe Saunders. But Billy Joe Saunders, he dropped the ball on it. He dropped the ball on an opportunity of a lifetime. And after he sees his fight with Caleb Plant versus Canelo, he going to realize that he screwed up big time, royally. He didn't have no confidence in himself. Because Caleb Plant's going to show you how it's done. Okay, Billy Joe? He going to show you how it's done, bro. He going to show you how it's done. And I have 100% confidence Caleb Plant will be the new undisputed 168-pound champion. I've been saying it for a little while. I had my question marks, and I thought it was a 50-50 fight. going into it. But then after seeing how Caleb Plant's attitude is right up to this point, he engaged a little too much with the fans. But he need to just stay focused. Don't stay directly in front of Canelo. Obviously, give him angles and looks, but don't be too far away to not be able to counter him. So because Caleb Plant has the superior reach, I expect him to use his reach and his length. He's going to be right in front of Canelo, but Canelo's going to constantly fall short because Caleb Plant is going to do the same things Canelo does, but just because he's longer and he's taller, he's going to have every single advantage to outbox Canelo. I said outbox Canelo. He's going to be in the pocket when he wants to be, and he's going to be outside the pocket when he wants to be. And he's not going to be very far away from Canelo, but still Canelo's not going to be able to touch him. I'm going to say it again. He's going to be right in front of Canelo, and Canelo's not going to be able to touch him. And y'all going to say, oh shit, this is Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo once again, except it's a bigger Floyd. Y'all going to say that, but that's not the case. Caleb Plant actually brings other attributes to the table. So when y'all say, and this is to answer this question, this is what's going to happen. This is going to answer this question. Y'all always saying, oh, well, if Floyd was to come back, and face this Canelo will beat Floyd. Well, this is going to answer that question. Y'all shouldn't have opened your mouth so fast. And the other thing it's going to answer is this question. Sugar Leonard and Sugar Ray Larson would have mopped the floor with Floyd Mayweather. Oh, yeah, really? This is boxing, y'all. And until y'all learn what the sport of boxing really is, just zip it. Don't say nothing, right? Because y'all don't know what boxing is. And I don't mean to disrespect y'all like that, but y'all don't know what boxing is because y'all always up in how hard he hit, how fast his hands are, how much power he got. That's shit. That's rubbish. That's not boxing. All right? As the late, great Roger Mayweather said, it's slipping punches, rolling punches, blocking punches, dipping from punches, rolling into punches, rolling under punches, riding punches, snapping back from punches, lean back. You know what I'm saying? But y'all don't know nothing about that because why? Y'all don't really know the sport of boxing. Y'all don't know the sport of boxing. And that's so sad. Right? I know I can pick Caleb Plant. I know Caleb Plant gonna win. You know why? Because I know Caleb Plant knows boxing. He knows boxing. He about to do something that y'all is gonna shock all of y'all. Because Mike Tyson talking about he need to be a hell of a fight. All y'all could think about is Caleb Plant must be fighting off the back foot. He got to fight off the back foot. Why he need to fight off the back foot? He the bigger guy. Yeah, Canelo hits plenty hard, but he ain't stronger than Caleb Plant. He's not stronger than him. He's not stronger than him. Listen again, because a lot of y'all don't know shit about boxing. Strength is not the same thing as punching power. I'm going to say it again. Okay? Strength is not the same thing as punching power. Canelo is physically a smaller guy than Caleb Plant. You know what? I'm about to tell y'all this. Go watch this fight for me. The fight before the Caleb Plant fight, Caleb Plant faced a German fighter about the stature, size, shape, ruggedness, toughness of a Canelo. He don't have the offense of a Canelo. He don't have the counterpunching of Canelo, but he's about the same size. Watch what Caleb Plant did to that dude. Go watch it. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. Now, understand, when Caleb Plant was fighting a guy with a longer reach than him, that was taller than him, and Ustateki, he had to box him a different way. He's not going to do that with Canelo. Canelo got a shorter reach than him. He's shorter than him. He's compact. He's sturdy. But he's smaller than him. And y'all saying Caleb Plant gonna run from Canelo? Hell no. Hell no. Right in the pocket. Or just right outside the pocket because he got a longer reach. And he beat that boy up. Because guess what? Canelo did not, and I'm going to say it right now, Canelo's not a great outboxer. He is not a great outboxer. And Caleb Plant got that footwork to make Canelo respect that distance. He's not just going to be able to pop that jab off the angle, that spear jab off the angle, because Caleb Plant going to shift his weight and pivot with it. So he going to fall short and then bop. There go that jab. Can you see that? Do you understand boxing? A lot of y'all don't understand boxing. So you can never, you don't even understand what I just said. Got to do it to understand it. Okay? They're both counterpunchers. When is the last time Canelo faced a counterpuncher? A real counterpuncher? A while now. Sergey Kovalev not no counterpuncher. He a power puncher. Trying to box. Right? Callum Smith ain't no counterpuncher. He a boxer. Long range. Billy Joe Saunders was a counterpuncher. Out of shape. Lacking confidence. When he started doing this counterpunching, he had success. Giving Canelo different looks and all of that. Okay? So, Canelo hasn't faced a counterpuncher since Danny Jacobs. A decent one. And Demetrius Andrade is much better than Danny Jacobs. You skipped a step, Canelo. You skipped a step. You skipped a step. You cheated. You skipped a step. You're supposed to go through Demetrius Andrade or Jamal Charlo. You didn't do it. So it is what it is. Now you can face a bigger version of Demetrius Andrade and a bigger version of Jamal Charlo. Combination of both of them. Because guess what? My boy uses his jab. He uses the stick. Effectively. He don't just pop the stick just because he want to pop the stick. Now, don't get me wrong. Canelo's got good head movement and everything. But I think this fight is, like he said, like my boy Terrence Crawford said, this is going to look more like a Triple G versus Canelo first fight, where Canelo going to be on the back foot. Because Caleb Plant going to make him go on the back foot. He going to make him go backwards. Because Canelo, he can fight going backwards, but he's not as effective going backwards as he is going forwards. So we will see. We will see. Round one is going to show us everything. You remember what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder? We will see. Okay? And remember, I'm going to say it again, because a lot of y'all don't understand. Caleb Plant is the bigger guy. Did I say not? He the bigger guy. He going to behave like that. He's going to behave like the bigger guy. He ain't going to let Canelo just chase him around the ring. Hell no. Hell no. He the bigger guy. Hell no. You coming up into my weight class, and I'm gonna be such a sissy. I'm gonna let you push me back. No. That ain't happening. Okay. So, watching you see. The only thing Caleb Plant needs to do is keep his composure. Do not engage with people who are not. He's not going to fight. None of those fans could fight for Canelo. Canelo has to do the fighting. So his focus should be on Canelo and fighting Canelo. And just handling Canelo. That's his focus. Dial in on that and do what you got to do. Don't focus on no damn fans. They can't fight for you or for him. You know? So we'll see what's up. But yeah, I like the weigh-in. It was good. I like the weigh-in. We're gonna see. We're gonna see on fight night what was really up with these two when they get in and mix it up. Those of you who are back in Canelo, hey man, respect to you. Salute. If you want to make a little pocket change, hedge it. And make sure you put something on Caleb Plant. Because he coming in the underdog, which means you will make money if he wins the fight. You want to make sure you make money one way or the other. So hedge it. You know what I mean? That's all I got to say for now. Is what you need. I could be wrong, and Canelo could win. He made me knock out Caleb Plant. I could be wrong. I ain't got a problem with that. My pride's not on the line or anything. But I see what I see, and this is why I'm talking to you guys honestly what I see. I may be wrong. You know, I can always be wrong. It's boxing. Anything can happen. But ultimately, in the end, I think I'm right. And I know this sport is not no luck and chance. I remember saying that Tank would not knock out Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz got slapped by Tank. Okay? So maybe everybody else is seeing something that I'm not seeing. Or maybe everybody's estimating Caleb Plant exactly the way how he should be estimated. Maybe they're right. But I'm going to say this. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are underestimating Caleb Plant, and that he will show up at the highest moment under the brightest lights. I think a lot of people think that Caleb Plant needs approval from people. He don't need no damn approval from nobody. And he definitely already showed his mental toughness through that. So I'm pretty sure that attitude and that mental toughness is going to carry all the way in. And he the bigger guy. He knows this, and he knows how to use his size to his advantage. He knows how to use his height to his advantage. He knows how to use his body to his advantage. He has very educated feet. So I believe Caleb Plant knows that he has many advantages over Canelo. And remember, Canelo was limited by range, like Vasily Lomachenko. I'm breaking it down now. I'm sparing the beans. He's limited by range. He has to close that distance. And if he does not know how to close that distance, I know he knows how to cut off the ring, but against a guy with intelligent feet, it's hard to cut off the ring on a guy like that. Intelligent feet. I told you, it all come down to the feet. And the guy's equally as nimble and equally as quick. You have to hope and pray that you can slow him down by going to the body or something. But if he's going to your body, you got to hope that your punches count more than his punches. And Caleb Plant has pretty fast hand speed as well. He throws combinations just as fast as David Benavidez. Shout out to Leroy Kong again. Yes, Leroy. Man, it was good being on your channel, by the way. Hello to you. Sorry I'm late. Many thanks. May the best fighter win. Yes, sir. You know, he got good hand speed as well. So, I mean, we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. I like having a nice, robust debate over who will win before it happens. And we'll see who's right. All right? But I'm giving you my reasons for why I think so. And I'm putting on the line Sugar Ray Leonard versus Floyd Mayweather in that equation. Sugar Ray Robinson versus Floyd Mayweather. Also, I'm putting on the line. You know, a lot of people always talk about Devin Haney, how he gets smoked by Teofimo Lopez and all these guys. And Teofimo Lopez is the better guy because Teofimo Lopez has got power. But you got to watch it all-around boxing skills and all-around boxing IQ. You know, I was listening to some guys. We was debating on it. We're doing this debate online right now about the greatest welterweights of all time. My list is the following. It is Henry Armstrong, Felix Trinidad, Emil Griffith, Jose Napoles, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. Okay, it could be Manny Pacquiao. It could be Manny Pacquiao or somebody else. But it's based on the championship fights at welterweight. Why the championship fights at welterweight? Because you see, people have the championship fighters. The championship fights are the highest level. Even if you face a guy outside the championship, you know he responds and behaves differently when there's a championship on the line. So that's why we talk about championship fights, and usually it's the number one contender that faces the guys. So I was talking about that, and of course nowadays there's different divisions and stuff. So you can't just look at, in modern day times, you can't just look at, you know, the number one contender for your belt. You gotta have to look at the overall ring rankings, like the number one contender for lineal championship or whatever, right? But anyways, my point was that a lot of people was mad because it was like Sugar Ray Leonard should be on that list. Sugar Ray Robinson should be on that list because I think they did some lists sometime and Sugar Ray Leonard was number one or something like that. And they say Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest welterweight of all time. And I'm like, no, man. He only had 5 welterweight championship fights. And of those 5 championship fights, he only faced one Hall of Famer whose name is Kid Gavilan. Okay? And I gave another reasoning. I said, even if you're looking at all his welterweight fights, he had about 60 welterweight fights, all right? Even if you look at all his welterweight fights, out of all his welterweight fights, he only faced 4 Hall of Famers. And of those 4 Hall of Famers, which ones were at the top of the sport at the time he faced them? 1, Kid Gavilan. I'm talking about the top of the sport when it comes to fighting at welterweight, because Sammy Angut was another guy, legendary fighter, legendary lightweight, beat on almost all the great lightweights, a lot of Hall of Famers he beat. But he never did nothing at welterweight. He never really beat a top-tier welterweight or anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only other guy. Because the other two, Fritzy Zivic and Henry Armstrong. Henry Armstrong wasn't nowhere near the top of the game anymore, right? And Fritzy Zivic, he had lost to Freddie Cochran And so he came off that loss, had a couple of fights, and then he faced Sugar Ray Robinson. He was no longer at the top of the sport either, or the top of the game, top of his division. But Kid Gavilan was at the top of the division. He was the number one guy. And let me see, who else was it? Tommy Bell was at the top of the division, right? But Tommy Bell ain't no Hall of Famer. So Kid Gavilan's the only Hall of Famer, all right? And Kid Gavilan deserves to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. You just look at all the names Kid Gavilan faced, all the people Kid Gavilan faced, both, at welterweight, etc., middleweight, etc. He never won a middleweight title, but, he fought some really great middleweights, again, outside of the championship game. When he stepped up to the championship level, he came up short. And so against some of the same guys he faced and beat. Because at the championship level, it's totally different, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, what I'm saying is, that's all Sugar Ray Robinson had. He only beat one Hall of Famer at welterweight who was at the top of welterweight. Okay? And he only had 6 championship fights. I'm sorry. I don't care how much welterweights he faced. I can't give him the number one welterweight, because of that. Not to mention how many of those 60 fights was just stay busies, man. Them guys didn't belong in the ring with Sugar Ray Robinson. That was just sparring work. You know what I'm saying? And he knocked him out and that was it, right? So you can't put that over a guy who Henry Armstrong had 19 successful championship fights. Or it's 20. I think it's 20 successful championship fights. Championship wins. Consecutive championship wins. And in between those championship wins, he was fighting at middleweight, a title fight at middleweight. He had title fights at lightweight. All right, undefeated for 20 championship fights. And his debut into the welterweight division is Barney Ross, a Hall of Famer. Right? So he had only 2 Hall of Famers out of his 20 championship fights. But you can't have a guy who's not top 10 or top 5 or top 3, in your rankings, and dude ain't facing them. You will not get a sanctioned championship fight. And almost everybody that Henry Armstrong faced was top 3, top 2, top 1 contender for his title. So you have to understand these things. All right. When we talk about Felix Trinidad, he had 16 championship fights, man. 16. Faced the pound for pound best fighter in the world at the time, Oscar De La Hoya, who had taken on 3 Hall of Famers. Pernell Whitaker, who was the former pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world until Oscar beat him. And then he also faced Hector Camacho Hector Camacho was kind of past it. And then Julio Cesar Chavez, he beat him first time. So he was having a rematch. And Chavez really was nothing at welterweight. But he still beat him. 2 Hall of Famers, right? The point is, we could scratch Chavez. We could scratch Camacho. There's no way you're scratching Oscar De La Hoya. You're not scratching Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? Pernell Whitaker, sorry. You're not scratching Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker's all-time great. And like he was at his top of the game. You know what I mean? And then Felix Trinidad faced Oscar De La Hoya was the next guy at the top of the game. And he became at the top of the game because he beat Oscar De La Hoya. You could say controversial, whatever. Oscar also beat Pernell Whitaker, controversially we say. But that's what the judges had it as. And at the end of the day, he also faced a prime Hector Camacho, right? And then he also faced Pernell Whitaker after he had lost to Oscar, right? So what I'm saying is, them 2 wasn't at the top of the game, but for sure, Oscar was at the top of the game. In fact, Oscar was considered a better fighter than Felix Trinidad, and he did show that for most of the fight. He just didn't finish strong. My point being this. Turn this light. Yeah. Does that help? Nope. Still stroby. Okay. My point is this. I don't want to take too much time because I really do need to get something to eat. My point is this. You can't be saying that, Sugar Ray Robinson and what the other guy name? And Sugar Ray Leonard, they're greater welterweights than Tito. When Tito got more championship fights than both of them. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard had 7 fights. Tito had 16. And on top of that, Tito facing better fighters. Better fighters with much more experience, with Hall of Famers and stuff. And guys ranked as the best fighters in the world. You can't be doing that. Know what I mean? Then you got Emil Griffith. Emil Griffith, Man, Emil Griffith was like Henry Armstrong. He was holding down 3 belts at one time. He was at welterweight. He had great welterweight rivalries with Parrott, uh, Kid. I forgot what his first name is. Kid Barrett. Anyway, he killed him ultimately in the end. Kid Barrett died, of some traumatic injuries from boxing in their third and final fight, which Emil won. And he had also great fights with another guy. I forgot what his name is, And then he went up after winning in those rivalries. He went up to it was a Mexican guy, I think it was. He went up to middleweight and he beat Dick Tiger, who was like the dude at middleweight. Dick Tiger went up to light heavyweight and won a title up there as well. So all I'm saying is, man, this dude was bad. He had, I think, it was 12 to 14 championship fights. Some of them he won, some of them he lost. But ultimately, in the end, he was holding down other titles in other divisions at the same time. He was super welterweight title, and he also had middleweight title. He had all 3 titles. He was defending all 3 titles at the same time. So it was just a whole bunch of title fights. He had no stay busies in between. And when you think about all his championship fights, it's crazy. Like 20-something championship fights. But the point is, what I'm saying is Emil Griffith got to go down as number 3. There's nobody else that was better than him. And then Jose Napoles had, I think it was 12 championship fights. I think he lost the last 2. I think it was 13, 14 championship fights he had, and I think he lost the last 2. And this boy was bad. And, of course, he also had a rivalry with him and another guy. I forgot what his name is right now. And they went back and forth at it. You know what I'm saying? And he eventually lost to John H. Tracy. And, of course, he went up to middleweight and he fought there and all that stuff while he was welterweight champion as well. So, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. And then we say Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, I haven't told y'all how many Hall of Famers this dude, both Jose Napoles and Emil Griffith faced. They faced a lot of Hall of Famers at welterweight, a lot of Hall of Famers at middleweight. Okay? I'm going to leave that alone for now. Mayweather, he faced, I believe it was 5 Hall of Famers, on future Hall of Famers, right? It would be Ricky Hatton, Zab Judah, Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Canelo, not Canelo, Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. It was 5 of them. All right, none of them was okay. Judah and Hatton were in their primes. We don't really consider Judah and Hatton on the same level as Mosley, Marquez, Mosley, Marquez, and Pacquiao. All right, Mosley, Marquez, and Pacquiao is some of the baddest ass welterweights you will ever find. Okay, Mosley beat Oscar De La Hoya, who was the number one welterweight in the world. He wasn't the number 1 pound for pound anymore. He was number 1 welterweight in the world, and Mosley became the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Marquez beat Pacquiao at welterweight. At the time, Pacquiao just lost his spot as the number 1 pound for pound fighter. Timothy Bradley beat him, right? And Marquez beat Pacquiao. He knocked him out, actually. And then we had Pacquiao, right? Pacquiao faced 5 Hall of Fame welterweights. It was 4 Hall of Fame welterweights. Timothy Bradley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, and at welterweight, he faced another guy at welterweight. Who was it? He beat Miguel Cotto. Okay? 4 Hall of Famers. Alright? Miguel Cotto was in his prime. Timothy Bradley was in his prime. Shane Mosley was definitely done. He was like cooked. And Juan Manuel Marquez knocked him out. So he won one with Marquez, and then Marquez knocked him out the next fight. So I'm just saying, people always go with dogma. They go with dogma. Oh, Sugar Ray Leonard and Sugar Ray Robinson should be best welterweights. But when you really put down the work that was done, Mayweather had, I think it's 9 or 10 welterweight fights. And of those welterweight fights, I'm sorry, not 9 or 10 welterweight fights. He had a lot of welterweight championship fights. I think he had 9 or 10 championship welterweight fights, or something like that. I don't think Marcus was a championship fight though, and Mosley wasn't a championship fight. So I'm not too sure how many championship fights. He might have had 7 or 8. Now that I stop and think about it, let me see. He had no. What bullshit I'm talking about? You have he had Zab Judah, Carlos Baldomero, then he had Victor Ortiz, then he had Robert Guerrero, then he had Marcos Maidana twice, Pacquiao, and then Berto. So that's eight championship fights he had. Okay. And of those 8 championship fights, he faced 5 Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers. It's crazy. That's just ridiculous. Then his trip at welterweight, I think he had 16 fights at welterweight. And of those 60 fights at welterweight, no scrubs. No stay busies whatsoever. So, I mean, it's just nuts. Just thinking about that. Of course, he also was fighting at super welterweight while he was at welterweight. So while he was the welterweight champion, he's also the super welterweight champion. So it's all of this shit that a lot of people don't talk about. They don't talk about the fact that, you know, that's the caliber of stuff that this dude was doing. And none of those guys that Leonard faced, none of them had the experience of Pacquiao. Pacquiao, by the time he faced Mayweather, he had 5 Hall of Famers he had beaten. Okay? When you look at Oscar De La Hoya, he had 3 Hall of Famers he beaten. Nobody that Sugar Ray Leonard faced had 3 Hall of Famers or more. Nobody. When you look at welterweight, that is. When you look at Sugar Ray Robinson, nobody had 3 Hall of Famers or more that he faced at welterweight. So these are the things. You can't be just talking out your ass and believing bullshit, you know. And then want to talk about eye tests, and you don't even know what the fuck you watching. Sorry about the F-bomb. Anyways, I'm what you need, man. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I just had to talk some boxing because people like I'm shaking up the boxing world, obviously, because all these people have dogma. Sugar Ray was the greatest welterweight of all time. No, he might have been the greatest middleweight or one of the greatest middleweights. I don't even think he was the greatest middleweight of all time. You know, to be honest with you, because he kept on losing his title, losing and gaining back, losing and gaining back. But this is what I'm gonna say. I would say that pound for pound, he's one of the greatest pound for pound fighters of all time. I think he's surpassed by Floyd. I think Floyd is greater than him. I think Floyd is the best fighter, period, of all time right now. But having said that, Sugar Ray Robinson was great for his time and great fighter. Fundamentals, you know, how to use certain techniques, footwork, all kinds of things. You know, and this guy had been around, you know, we talking about 1960. He's been, you know, I'm talking 60 years ago. You know, 60 years ago, this man was fighting. And still relevant to this day. And you can start to learn so much about the fundamentals of boxing, and textbook boxing, and just the proper way to do certain things. He's a great fighter. Great fighter. That's how great he was. So I just say this to say, you know, a lot of people believe in certain dogma and stuff. I'm not saying that Sugar Ray Robinson didn't face a lot of welterweights. I'm not saying that Sugar Ray Robinson wasn't a great fighter. He, in terms of Hall of Famers, Sugar Ray Robinson has the most amount of Hall of Famers currently, besides Harry Crabb. So he was a phenomenal fighter. Phenomenal. Just phenomenal in many different ways. But I think he's been eclipsed. All right? And I don't think he was the greatest middleweight, and I don't think he was the greatest welterweight. And that's okay. You can be... Floyd's not the greatest welterweight. He's not the greatest super featherweight. He wasn't the greatest lightweight, and he wasn't the greatest super lightweight. That's okay. He wasn't the greatest super welterweight either. Okay? You can't have everything. But pound for pound, he could be the greatest fighter. Terrence Crawford's not the greatest welterweight right now. He's not the best welterweight of this era. But he is pound for pound better than the guy who's the best welterweight right now. So you have to put things in context, man. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to follow dogma, and they don't know why. So when it comes to me now raising these points and bringing these points across, they can't answer me because they don't know. They just believe the dogma. You got to have reasoning behind why you believe what you believe. And that's what a lot of people don't have. I'm going to catch you all guys later on what you need. Peace. I'm gone.